Hey everybody, welcome to Huddle Time with Ronit. It's Monday night and we are super excited to be with you today. Last week we had Sheila Wilson, the president of Intercoufier, and she was telling us what Intercoufier is all about. So I hope you guys have already listened and sign up. If you're a salon owner and you really want to have a great association and a good network, that's a great program. Also, I want to let everybody know the Americans Beauty Show is live and on, and it's going to be at the 10th, the 11th, and the 12th of September. Data Driven is also going to be at the same time, all in Rosemont. It's going to be an amazing education for all of us. Great people, great artists, so many great names, and just lots of education. And this time the education is not digital, okay? This time the education is live. We're going to be together. We're going to have 2 cocktail parties. Just so many great events in just 3 days. So sign up, go to americasbeautyshow.com and sign up, get your tickets. You don't wait too long. I mean, you get so much for those tickets. So it's a full membership for a whole year. You don't want to miss it up. Now, also, another event is happening, and Jay Williams, the expert on leadership and communication, and myself, the Prophet Jedi, are going to be arriving physically to Chicago this weekend coming up. We're going to be giving live workshop. It's like 7 to 8 hours of workshop, really work of how to recruit the right ideal members into your team, how to develop the team. What is really key these days, essential, that we were not doing before COVID and that we need to consider doing now in order to create the right ideal staff members in your team. If you want to scale, if you want to grow, you know that the way is by growing your team and how to develop a team that thinks like you, that can see your vision, that can engage with your vision. And as a matter of fact, they think like investors because they want to invest in your company. So that is what we're coming to deliver for an amazing workshop at Rosemont this Monday coming up, next Monday coming up, the 28th. We're starting at 10 o'clock. We still have some spots to come in. We limited it to 30 spots, but we still have some spots. So if you want it, the information is right here on the Facebook. Now, speaking about Jay, for anybody who's just joining us and doesn't know who is this redhead that is talking to you, my name is Ronit Enos, and I'm here for every Monday bringing into this amazing show many people, many experts, many people who are game changer, who are really been thought leaders in our community, in the industry. And they're here to share with us what we can do to improve our lifestyle, to improve ourselves, to get better, and to grow our businesses to a much stronger, sustainable model. Yes, it's all about predictability. It's all about sustainability, but it's also about understanding how can we enjoy all of it? How can we have fun and not work 24/7? So we bring every week great experts from all over, I guess from all over the world, and we share with you their opinion and their tips and their gems that improves our lives. So today we have Jay Williams, who is a great friend and is an amazing expert in our industry, and he has taught and shared his knowledge in many industries, in Fortune 500s, Fortune 100s, of what does it take to develop great communication skills. And we're going to talk about feedback today. Now, Jay has been in the industry for quite some time, even though he looks as young as I do, okay? And I'm going to bring him right now because he has a lot more to add. Hi, Jay, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for the young portion and introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, we're both feel and look like we're 27. I mean, do you agree?
I wouldn't argue that. I would not argue that, even if it weren't true.
we talked about butter, right? Before that, before anybody joined us, we talked about butter. I have to add something like a funny story, because when you talked about butter, I was going back to when Bill and I decided to take this challenge. Okay. I wanted to shed about 20 pounds, and I just wanted to look really buff. Like I wanted to look like I wanted to have J-Lo's body. Okay. This is what I wanted. And Bill being as skinny as he is, he wanted to build muscle. He wanted to build mass. So we joined something that calls Body for Life. Okay. And Body for Life at that time, I don't know. Have you ever heard about Body for Life?
I saw the book. I didn't read it, but I remember the book.
Okay. So that was Bill Phillips. And he wrote this book, and we decided to join his challenge. And his challenge was, you have to start, and you have 3 months worth of a program, and then you take picture of you and you enter the challenge. And if you win, into 400,000 people, right? So when we did that, then we had to take, before picture and after pictures. And we did the after pictures. And guess what we did? We butter ourselves up. We took shea butter and we bottle it. It defines every muscle group that you have in your body. So that's what you do. Yeah.
Is that the first time that you guys have buttered each other up? Or?
Well, it wasn't the last time.
Okay, fair enough. There you go. Good answer. Good answer. So how do we segue into Chicago next Monday from the butter?
Yes, we're going to be buttering up, and we're going to come to Chicago with everybody. I'm super excited. Are you excited about it?
I am excited. I'm excited, I think, for the things that you talked about. Excited to be in person again. I think, I know there's a dynamic that can't be replaced by this in-person interaction. And I'm passionate about the topic because I think when you look at what's gone on, people, they've talked about a lot has changed. Everything's changed and nothing's changed. And I think part of what the nothing that has changed is that, one, you need your people and you need great people to complete your mission. And so I think the content is timely in the sense that we're experiencing something we haven't experienced 18 months ago to this degree, about finding people and then finding the right people. And so I think the content, the timing is perfect, that we revisit what is the criteria for getting the right people. And it's interesting, I'm a sports fan, and there's a coach who said, it's always easier to coach better players. And so I think as a salon owner, if you can hire these quote unquote better people that are in alignment with your values, your mission, and your vision, it does make that process of leadership easier.
Yeah. And I love what you just said, because you said something, a lot of change and a lot didn't change. Yeah. And so a lot of change, obviously, in 18 months, but the actions that we're taking have not changed. Is right. We're in the place where we're doing the same thing that we have done before the change, expecting that we're going to have different results. And that's just not going to fly, not this time. And unless we are applying different thinking and different actions, the risk is that we're not going to find ourselves in such a quick, rapid progress world right now. What do you think that right now we need to take into consideration?
I think you need to take into consideration what hasn't changed. And yes, the world has changed, but your mission has not changed. And so as you look at salons, what I hear in their missions, there's some commonality in that they want to leave people in a better place than they found them. Dr. Lou, they want to not only cosmetically, but psychologically transform them. So I think it's important as an owner that you have clarity on your mission. And that was probably your mission before COVID, and it'll be your mission after. To your point, what has changed is how we go about accomplishing that. And so I think for some of you who are listening, you're going, yeah, that's great. What is it? And the answer is, I don't know. And I don't know that you would know. Who does know are your employees who are interacting with your clients and your clients. And that's why we're going to talk about feedback. And what I want to do with feedback is to shift people's thinking as it relates to feedback. We've always had a context that there's good feedback and there's bad feedback, or you know what, it's constructive criticism. And what I want to shift the thinking to is that feedback is simply information and data. And I think more than ever, as owners and as leaders, we need information and data, and we need it early and we need it often. And I think the information, the data that you receive will allow you to make some of these decisions that you need to make. And whether you pivot your strategy or your people, or whether you persevere with some of the things that you've done.
Yeah. And so, by the way, Mary Wilson said hello. Donna is here, says hello. Hey guys, it's good to see you. And I bet you guys, Mary and Donna, you agree. There's a lot of listening to do right now. You know, for what you're saying is we need to evaluate the data, and we need to use our data that's coming from our staff in order to create the right vibe, to create the right environment that feeds, excuse me, that feeds and help everybody that is around us. That means we have to listen to the staff of what is really important to them right now. What do they need to be successful? Going back to 2008, you know, 2008 has presented very similar problem. I don't know if you remember that. I know you do, but I know we were just a couple years ago, but what happened? Yeah, I figured that's where the brain was going. I can see that already. But what happened is when we got back into work, you know, when 2008 happened, people went to home. They didn't want to come up. They didn't want to give up their unemployment. They didn't want to work the same way that they worked before. They had a different idea, different set of mindset of how they want to come. And being a salon owner, I had to listen to that. I had to really understand in that generation, or the new fruit that came above, is what do they need to feel confident, to feel successful at that time, and implement that. And that's what you're talking about, feedback, right? Kind of getting the feedback, the data from them, so you can, you know, adapt, or make it even not just adapt, but thrive with that together.
Yeah, I think what you're going to see, and we're going to talk about this with feedback and what it builds, is that there's two things you're going to need for business today. You're going to need transparency, and the transparency is full disclosure of what's going on and what's important to you, and you need full disclosure from them. And then the next thing is participation. So I think as you look at a team to recruit, that you need to understand the feedback that we're getting now, the information and data. People want to function in full transparency, and those will be the most successful companies and businesses, the ones that can function in full transparency. And then the second thing that this group of people that you're going to hire, they want to participate in what decisions are going on as it relates to them. Feedback gives you the information and the data to do that. Now, when I say participation, some people are listening. They go, well, I don't know, that can do what they want. They want to work 3 days a week, right? They don't want to work weekends. What studies have shown is that by participation, if they can purely share what their thinking is, you don't even have to implement it.
Yeah.
That there's a satisfaction that's derived. And so as we talk about feedback, I know I've heard from leaders, they say, Jay, I'm not sure I want feedback, because then they're going to expect me to implement it. And we'll talk about that, how you manage those expectations, because it could be as simple as, I do want to hear what your thinking is on this, with the understanding that I'm going to capture all of it. I may not be implementing everything, but it doesn't make it any less important that I know what you're thinking. And these are some of the skills that we'll talk about on how you solicit this information and data and heavily weight the outcome in your favor with what you do with it.
So what is, if we can just put in a couple of sentences, what is feedback?
I think in its most simple form, the way I define it, it is simply information and data that allows you to create a better experience, service, or product. So whether you're a spouse, it's in that relationship, or it's a parent, or it's as a leader, or as a coworker, that's what I think feedback is. It's just information and data that allows you to be better. And I think if we could redefine feedback, we can shift our thinking, it'll shift our emotions about it. And we won't be as hesitant to ask for it. In fact, we'll be excited to get it because we know the value. I was reading today that Amazon's competitor in Asia, they actually have the capability now to get information and data on a Monday. So if there's a top you're wearing, and it's a sunshine yellow top, and it's a fitted tee, and they can get that information and data on Monday that's really successful, they can replicate it in their private label on Wednesday. On Wednesday. And what that is they're getting feedback on sales. And as leaders, if we begin to take the positive, negative out of it, the emotion, so to speak, and just treat it as information and data, I believe it'll allow us to make educated decisions.
Yeah.
By the way, facts, not feelings, by the way.
Okay. So that's actually really important, and I want to emphasize on that more. Is really getting facts versus feelings. Of course, feelings is important, but the facts is really the data that's going to help you create something. And right now, the toughest thing, and we're looking this when we do our classes, and the toughest thing right now is that the salon owner is fearful, afraid of getting the facts. They're afraid of asking questions. They're afraid of listening, because what they're afraid of is they might get the answer that they don't want to deal with, or they might get an opinion that they don't want to hear about, or they might get rejection. All those fears that we operate based on that, and we make really not good decisions when we do that. And when you said get the facts, and I know we're going to talk about it, we're actually going to be working on this workshop that we're doing, is how do you develop the communication, and how do you get rid of the fear factor that's stopping you from moving forward, that's stopping you from creating a program for your staff to be successful, that's stopping you from you to be successful? How do you get into the zone of not worry about so much about the fear of what answer I'm going to get?
Here's the first thing I would say is that feelings aren't wrong. It's just simply a flag or an indicator for you that you need to spend more time somewhere. And so for those of you that are hearing that word fear, that's all right. It's just an indication that you need more information. There's something that's a trigger for you that's not resonating. It's important that you begin to ask yourself the questions that help you to determine whether you are operating off of feelings or facts. I was with someone today, and they're a photographer, and so they were sharing that they have a fear of sharing their hourly price. And I said, what has been your experience when you raise your price? And they said, you know what? I just never done it because I'm fearful. I said, you know what? What if instead of thinking about raising your prices, or you said people were asking for discounts, I said, you just asked them when they asked for a discount, you asked them what their budget was. And he said, I did that once. And I said, oh, how'd that go for you? He said, oh, it's actually Pepsi Cola. And they offered me $5,000 for these employee IDs. And I said, how'd that sound to you? He said, I never made that much money for taking pictures that were just photo IDs. I said, oh, so you had a good experience? He said, yeah. He said, come to think of it, there was another time I asked a person what their budget was. And it was a 2-day shoot. And they shared with me when they asked for a discount, and I asked about their budget. And when they shared their budget, it was more than I was going to charge them. And so I share that with you because it's important to go through the process that you look at your feelings and really vet them out. Are they the facts? And what historically has happened for you? And in the case with this person, every time they asked a budget, they had a successful outcome. So the facts did not support the feelings. So as an owner, I don't know what your experience has been in asking for feedback. I'm not there. What studies have shown is that when people ask a question, and that's what would transpire when you're asking for feedback, it leads people to believe that you care. And when people think that you care, they trust you. And trust is a currency of relationships. So I'd encourage owners to go through that process to vet out what is feelings, and are they valid? And I mean, historically, does it support that? And what are the facts? Now, the facts could also support your fear as well, which would warrant you taking a different course of action.
Yeah. It's so true, sometimes we're talking about the elephant in the room, and it's really, there's no facts that there is an elephant in the room. And so we have to go through this process, and it's just so liberating when you're actually creating evidence that what you're thinking is not really true. And the truth behind it is only in your brain. Because until you really ask the question, and like you said, I love when you said, you care when you ask questions. So the more questions that we can ask, the better it is. In the workshop that we're going to be doing, Jay, you're going to be working on the feedback. You're going to take the feedback and show how facts are really important. You're going to be spending a lot of time on creating some sort of a feedback system that our guests are going to actually take it home with them. Is that something that that you feel that we can formalize, that we can systemize?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to look at feedback. First of all, there's giving feedback, which a lot of us are somewhat proficient at, and we give unsolicited feedback. And then there's getting feedback. And so it's important that as a leader, an owner, manager, when you attend, is that we're going to spend a majority of the time on you getting feedback. And it's important because you're going to need to model for your people what it's like to get feedback. Yeah. So to your point, Renee, we have performance evaluations. And I see within not only our industry and outside the industry performance evaluations. They're generally done annually. Unfortunately, that's the only time the person gets feedback. And so what I would say is I am all for formal process. And so whether you do it with your employees in the way of a performance evaluation, or as a stylist, you do it with your clients. I mean, that's what the consultation is, isn't it? Soliciting feedback, asking questions, listening. And so there's a formal process there. I think the biggest opportunity is the informal process on a day-to-day basis. And so I'll talk about the frequency of soliciting feedback, which I think is early and often. I mean, when you guys think about it, how often would you like information and data, financial information?
All the time.
Every minute. Yes, exactly. So when you look at your assets, I think you certainly have financial assets. I don't think anybody would argue that my people are my most important, or most valuable asset. So when you want real-time information and data, and here's what you want with people. You want to know what they know, you want to know what they're thinking, and you want to know what they're feeling.
Yeah.
That's what feedback is for you. What if you knew what everybody knew, was thinking, and feeling? You'd be like a superhero.
Exactly, and I think I am, right?
Yes, yes, you are. Yes.
But I'm with you, and I want to share it with everybody that, we really have to have, in order for us to excel in our company and build a company that is sustainable, but more than sustainable, that is really thriving. Technology is a key. And that's something about feedback. Technology is going to give you numbers where there are facts, and the numbers are going to tell you stories, and the story is going to tell you if something that you're doing is working and working. So of course we need to have the data. Of course we need to we need to understand what data that we need in order to improve a certain things. But what we're talking about here is also like you said, we need to know their feelings. We need to know what is the future and the current staff needs for us to help them bridge that gap, that where they are and where they want to be, where they are and where they want to be. So there's nothing more vital and more important than getting that feedback from our staff and learn how to take that feedback, chew on it, and make it very efficient, or make it very valuable for our team to grow. And so, facts are important. Emotional feedback is important too. How do you respond to emotional feedback, Jay?
Not very well, I'll tell you. I don't respond to it. Just ask my wife; she'll tell you. I I think what's important is that this is an important question. So I hope everyone heard it. How do you respond to emotional feedback? I think there's a tendency, especially in our industry, because the majority of the people tend to be empaths. They have this superpower. They take on the energy and the thinking, which is phenomenal. The challenge is if you do not agree with that person's emotion. And so
Yes.
I think what's important is that you don't have to validate that somebody feels stressed, they feel overwhelmed, they feel taken advantage of, if you don't feel that way. Now, you can acknowledge it, you don't have to validate it. And that alone should give you guys in the audience some peace in your communication and your leadership. If somebody thinks that you are the single worst leader to ever grace this industry, and you don't believe that because of the person that you used to work for, that's why you left and opened your own salon, then you don't have to validate and go, well, I let you down and I want you to be happy. And you may not feel that way. You can simply acknowledge, it sounds like something's missing from my style. What would you like to see? And so that's how you respond. You don't need to validate. You just acknowledge. And an acknowledgement is, I hear you. I understand, which is different than I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, Jay. I think that's so important. It's like, just to know, just to ask for it is already, like you said, that's just, you care.
Yeah.
And when you hear, you hear feelings like, how do you feel? And how do you feel about that? And whether you agree or not, and I'm just repeating what you said, you're already coming from a compassion place. And then you can also say, I hear you, I see you, I need to process it, I need a little time, and I'll be back, and I will talk about it again, right? Unfortunately, many times we take that information and the feeling from it, or we either forget to come back because we get so busy, and we don't actually know how to solve that problem. So, or maybe we start imagining things that are not even there, and we just got feedback. So, I guess we're not born problem solvers. but we are born compassionate people, and we need to develop that part even more and see the other side. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree 100%. When you just said that we need to see the other side, the most effective communicators in the world, and through no coincidence, these leaders possess the same skill, have the ability to communicate from the other person's perspective. The way that they do that is by getting feedback, by asking questions, so that I know what you know, I know what you're thinking, and I know what you're feeling. And then as a leader, I tailor my response, not my reaction, my response from your perspective. And so if you share with me that you feel overwhelmed, you feel stressed, and you feel as though that you could be making more money, and this is the reason that you're going to leave, and I'm hearing this, and I ask you, well, how do you feel about leaving? And how do you feel about starting on your own? And where's your comfort level with handling the finances and handling the marketing and handling your lease? There's no judgment, just asking questions to get feedback. And I can find out what they know, what they're thinking, and what they feel. I can now respond in kind. It sounds like that's a daunting task for you. It sounds like it's overwhelming. If you could choose, and you could stay here and make more money and not have to deal with those things, or deal with those things and maybe make the same amount of money, which would you choose? And so you can see
Right.
from response and soliciting that feedback,
Information.
getting that information and data, and knowing what they know and what they think and what they feel, it allows me to respond from their perspective. And this
Yeah.
is the skill set. I believe that you will be able to automate management functions.
Yes.
I know there's artificial intelligence out there. We're just not there that it can replicate the leadership skills that we need today. And I think if there's a single skill set that you need to double down on, accelerate, it is these leadership skills. We're not minimizing management skills. It's just, I think that you've experienced a lot of people have that process and procedure.
But
It's these leadership skills.
right. Well, the thing is, the nice thing about being a leader is the fact that you have the ability to change people's life. Period.com. And it's not physically, let me just give you a check of $1 million so you can change your life. It's basically listening and asking the questions. So, part of your members, and asking the question, well, what would you like to achieve in your life? How would you like to live your life? What do you need in order to make this happen? And by listening to that, now what you got to do is you take your tools and create a map of how really they can lead that type of progression, how they can succeed in your company, and how they can achieve, how the company can actually work for them, or for any members in yours, and can work for yourself. So designing a map starts with understanding how to ask the right questions, and how to ask, what do you need in order to be successful? Bill is laughing because the train is beeping. That's fine. It's okay. I don't care. But yeah, we have a train station right here. We're right behind us, as you can hear us.
Tell
But
him to do his Superman, where he stands right in front and stops it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
want to go stop the train?
Can you go stop the train?
I'm on it. I'm on it, Jay.
Thank you.
But that's what I'm
I
saying.
would say, Ronit, to your point, and I think this is what the consultation is about. And I just want people to hear how learning this skill set has universal applicability. Is you're doing, listen, we do hair, we use color, we have products, right? I mean, it's the same solution for everybody. And if you have a company and you have policies and procedures and benefits, it's the same for everyone. Yet we don't tell the clients the exact same thing, every single client. We ask questions, we solicit feedback, we find out what's most important to them, and then we tailor our response. And so it's the same way when you're grooming your employees, is that you do ask these questions and you find out what's most important to them. And then you tailor what your company does, the culture, the benefits, the future, the sustainability, based on what they told you. This is, often with leaders, I will ask this single question. Are you solving more problems, providing more solutions, or asking more questions?
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because I think as a leader, there's a certain significance and self-worth and sense of longing we get from being a problem solver. I mean, what's the downside to being a superhero, right? Well, here's the downside, is that every time there's a problem, they call for Superman, they call for Wonder Woman, right? Now they're calling for you. And your real gift as a leader is what you articulated, is to ask the questions that guide their thinking to come to those answers. And so I think what you articulated, if people are listening, like recruiting, feedback, those seem like two separate topics, that they can see how they really go hand in hand, because it's really information and data that you're going to need to recruit. It's the information data you're going to need to tailor the benefits of working to your salon to each and every client.
Absolutely.
I'm
Thank
sorry,
you.
stylist.
No, it's good. Like, you take that whole system of feedback and you apply it to an interview. How do you, and we're going to be working on that. How do you actually create the right interview questions? What do you want to get in those interview questions? Many times when we create our interview, it takes us about 10 minutes and we decide, oh my God, they look great. They feel great. They're cute or they're not cute, but I need somebody. So I'm going to ask a question. I'm not even going to listen to the answer because I'm afraid of the answers. So, okay, boom, hired. Come and work with us. And, and before you know it, it never failed. On the 25th day, you already know that this was the wrong hire. This is not what we want. So we want to help you guys by creating a different way of asking questions so you can get the answers and decide whether this is a good fit for you or not, right? And that's a feedback. Again, if without that information, Jay, you frozen?
No, you look frozen to me. Do I look frozen to you?
No, we're both unfrozen now, so that's good. We can go right back to it.
Okay. I may need a segue there, so help me out. Yes.
But that's not going to happen. We're going to be live in Chicago. We're not going to be frozen. Let me tell you, we are going to be working. Yeah. So going back, just a couple of recap on this, Jay. Why is the feedback is so important? Also about giving feedback. So not only be receiving, but also about giving a feedback, especially in what you call it performance reviews, call it empowerment meetings. When you sit one-on-one, how to give feedback in a way that is so super efficient and great for growth.
Yeah, let me make a compelling case before we move on that feedback is a non-negotiable. If you're looking at recruiting and hiring and retaining people, it's imperative that you are giving feedback. The number 2 reason that this newest generation leaves a role is because of a lack of feedback. So my youngest son is 25, and he gets a performance evaluation once a year, and he recently got it. I said, oh, how was it for you? He goes, I don't know. I go, what do you mean you don't know? He goes, there's 4 questions. I said, did you answer them? He goes, yeah. He said, they weren't really insightful questions. I said, did you discuss them with the person you report to? He goes, no, not really. They just kind of gave me my raise. I said, so what kind of feedback do you get? He goes, interestingly enough, he said, you know what? I get good feedback. They'll just randomly tell me, hey, you did a good job. I said, how do you feel about that? He says, it's weird because it never get any negative feedback. So either they don't feel comfortable in sharing it with me, or maybe they're just not paying close enough attention to me. But he said, I'm 25. There's things I can be better at. And so I share this with you because this will be a non-tangible currency that your people will want is feedback. And so we'll talk about how you share that feedback and how you model it, model this receiving feedback will heavily influence how they receive feedback from you. And so that's where we'll give both perspectives. Most importantly, how you solicit it, how you receive it, and so that you can model how they, in theory, would take this feedback. And you know you have a successful culture when unsolicited, either you're sharing it or they're asking you, hey, can you give me some feedback? You know what, and we'll talk about how specific. It's not how am I doing? It's, you know what, how am I as a team player? You know what, how am I with my technical skills? You know what, where do you see me with my consultations? And we'll talk about a framework of using 1 to 10 on that because it gives you very specific data. And so to your point, this has to be a non-negotiable in your culture, where I have seen cultures not be able to, they're successful at recruiting, just not retaining people, is when they're not giving this feedback. It's not open and on time and honest. So we'll talk about those 3 filters as it relates to feedback, because that's the way you want it, and that's the way you want to be able to share it.
Absolutely. Can you see me?
You disappeared. Hold on 1 second. Oh, I'm back. Okay. Hi.
No, you were there the whole time actually, so don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's really important. Is you know, you can recruit really well. Let's say you did recruit really well. And now you need to really systemize it. Like you said, you know, there's got to be empower meeting or performance review on a regular basis. A lot of companies don't do it enough. They don't listen enough. And we need to do that. We need to do a lot more. It's like check-in. It's a lot of check-in, you know. If you can even imagine yourself, you know, the CEO of Home Depot, you know, not only that he does his regular leadership meetings, he literally will schedule a cup of coffee with his leaders, you know, on top of a regular empowerment meeting. He really spends the time to listen. And he chooses an environment where, you know, people feeling uncomfortable and unthreatened about giving feedback. So there's a lot of ways that we can utilize, you know, our space in the salon, and the fact that we need transparent. And we're going to share with all of you. I mean, Jay is going to be working about sharing with you all the ways that you can receive feedback, give feedback, and utilize that to grow your leadership. So not maybe all the ways, but a few good ways. So I'm reading a couple of the comments right here. And Jay, anything else that we should let everybody know? That we're going to be in Chicago in exactly a week. We're going to spend a lot of good time. Anything you want to mention
about Chicago and about us? Here's, if I was going to share back with the group, you know, you have these dollars, so you can invest in dollars, you can invest in time. And the question is this time well spent? Should I be spending time somewhere else? I don't know where else you'd be spending that time, so I can't speak to that. But what I would share with you is that our experience has been unequivocally, when we share this thinking, we share these filters in this content, is that people find a universal applicability for the information. And it's information that's not just, you may be inspired and motivated. Our experience has been, there's been a transformation in how you think and how you approach the business, and that this investment becomes sustainable for you. So it's time well spent, it's money well spent. And, you know, the reality is, you know, if it's $4.99 to do, say it's $500, for some of you, it'll be a $500 value. For some of you, it'll be a $5,000 value. And for some of you, it'll be a $50,000 value. And for some of you, it'll be a $500,000 difference. not the next day, but maybe over time. And so if you can apply these things, whether it's in your recruitment, whether it's in the onboarding process, whether in the way that you get feedback, you solicit data, your retention of your people, the retention of your clients, that's where the value comes in these components. That's what I would leave them with.
Wow, I love that. That's really strong. You know, it's how do you get yourself more freedom? It's how do you get yourself, you know, more ease? You know, how do you get yourself to the place where you're not struggling and you're working so hard and you're so much inside? We want to just take that away from you. We want to show you exactly what to use as tools in order to form a very good team. What is the new generation is actually looking for? How can we engage and bring excitement and good vibe into your tribe? And that's what we're going to be doing with you guys this Monday. So we're really looking forward being there. Jay, we've been working together now for quite some time, and it never, ever, ever gets old. It just gets more and more valuable every time that we're doing something together. So you guys don't want to miss it. Like Jay said, that investment is going to be turning into multiply return, sometimes even triple. And I will guarantee you for sure that investment will bring 150% more profit into your life. So you don't want to miss that.
I'm excited. I'm going to hang up and I'm going to go pack my bags.
Oh, we just got a little bit of a comment here.
Okay.
I just spent some time on the phone with my 32 years old son. He's been leading at his company with sales, but he wants off the KPI, off phone time, being much lower, but his productivity is above board. I tried to show him, explaining his efficiency is greater than those spending 30% more on the phone time.
So what is their takeaway from that for their son?
Say that again, Jay?
What's their takeaway from that for their son?
Yeah, so what is the question that comes with that? That's what I would love to see. What is the number one question that comes with that? So I try to show him, explaining his efficiency is greater than those who are spending only 30% or more 30% on phone time.
I think, let's talk about feedback just for a second. For that person, if I've misinterpreted your question, just let me apologize in advance. If I was coaching, say, your son in a professional capacity, as a leader, we might lead with a statement, hey, you're more efficient. When you're soliciting feedback, the feedback I want to know is how important is being efficient to you? Because as a leader, we might have something that's important to us and a driver that may not be a driver for that person. And when you talk about KPIs, I'm assuming they mean key performance indicators. I don't want to assume that. Is that if a person doesn't derive their fulfillment and their satisfaction out of numbers, that won't be a motivator for them. And so where I'd make the analogy is that when you look in the salon business, as an owner, we always want our people to make more money. I've not met a salon owner in 17 years who's done goal setting where they've planned their numbers down. Not even in COVID. They didn't do it. Should have, but didn't.
I mean, would you ever? Exactly.
However, I have met stylists who are okay to make less money. Now, the reasons may be that, hey, my husband's gotten a promotion, or you know what, we've paid off college. We would rather have more time off. And so that's why it's important as you talk, and especially with these key performance indicators, because they are important to you, you cannot assume that they're important to the other person. Soliciting feedback, information, data, what's important to you, will allow you to tailor your response as an organization to that person. Your role as a leader is not to motivate people. Your role as a leader, they come to your company motivated. Your role as a leader is to not extinguish their motivation. For the son, and please, if you're listening, no, I am taking so many liberties. I don't know you or your son, so please, I'm just using it more as a case study. Is, I think what's important as a leader in the organization is to find out what your son knows, to find out what he's thinking, and to find out what he's feeling. And at that point, they can start a conversation and share information. But I wouldn't do it prior to. So again, to that person, please do not come to Chicago because I misinterpreted your question. But no, my intention was to help.
Well, I think that was really great. At the end of the day, if your son is having a hard time with the leader, maybe the leader is not asking great questions. Maybe they're just stating facts. Maybe they totally stressed out because they have to bring some KPI numbers to the person, above them. So maybe your son, if we're reading this right, maybe your son needs to ask them questions, right? Like, how can I help you make your job easier? Just having an open book conversation is so valuable. Being so transparent. Maybe your son needs to say, I'm having a hard time. I'm not into those numbers. What can I do to make your job easier so you can feel comfortable to your boss? Just having that nice feedback conversation is really good. And then come down to the facts and then talk about the facts, because the facts are real. And so that will help you, start a conversation and see where they can help each other together grow. That's what it's all about. How can we together grow? That's kind of like where it all comes to. So
I want to, for the people who are listening, because you had articulated earlier that people have a fear of feedback, what do they do with it? So I'll give you an example. Last week, a salon owner called me because they had asked their people, what hours do you want to work? Right? That was the question. They were soliciting feedback, right? Know, they know, think, feel. And he said, here's the deal. I have 36 people. When I asked everyone, it left me 85 hours short of coverage.
Yes.
So I want to share with you guys, and you'll learn this when we talk about it, is that you can put filters around your feedback. So with this owner, what I shared in our conversation is that if he had framed it as, what do you think the fair schedule would be for you? Mm-hmm. Knowing that we need to cover a schedule that's 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. The person could share their thinking and what they thought would be fair. Then you could solicit more feedback. How do you think that schedule, you're not working Saturdays, would affect the others at the salon? Because to your point, you have to grow together. And when we talk about feedback, I will share with you that there are filters you use, because this is not my words. Stephen Covey Sr. said this. It's about creating a win-win. And with some owners in the salons, because this new currency is flexibility and they want to accommodate their people and they don't want to lose them because they can't find people to replace them, which I understand, they end up creating a win-lose situation where the stylist wins and the salon owner loses. And I don't know if this is your situation. If you're listening, and Renee, you may be able to relate to this, stylists are doing great. They are fully booked on their schedules and they're making money. It's not exactly true for every owner, because in an effort to accommodate their stylists that they only want to work certain days and certain shifts, they're not able to maximize their business. And so when we talk about feedback, if you have a fear, I will show you how you put filters around the questions you ask that guide their thinking and their feedback.
I think that was brilliant. So for everybody who's listening, Jay is going to be sharing with you how to have those communication skills, how to develop the leadership skills, how to ease your communication, really what it is, and how to make you feel not scared about having conversation like this. This is a really good conversation. The transparency is sometimes very difficult for us. So how are you going to actually deliver that and thrive together, where I am going to help everybody create that profitable model that will allow you to know exactly what you can do with your team, how you can afford a certain level of recruitment, and what are the new ways of making sure that there is a financial model behind those conversations. Okay, so it's not like you're thinking, oh my God, can I actually have a conversation like this? Do I actually know how much I can pay? Do I actually know how many hours I can allocate? Yeah, you have to know the profit margin behind it in order to make that a really solid, meeting, right? So, and then how to deliver it and how to articulate. So we can wait to do this with everybody. Jay, this has been, again, amazing. I can't wait to spend more time with you in Chicago. We're going to have another margarita when we're there.
Shh.
Oh, okay. Was that like a muse? What you love your other drinks? I love that one too. So,
Yeah.
Russian,
Virgin margaritas.
yes, we'll go with
Never
the
during the sessions. Never during the sessions. In case people are listening, wondering.
We'll celebrate after with everybody. So, all right, guys. Jay, thank you for everybody who you guys want to even, and you're not going to be able to make it to Chicago. Please speak up on Amazon. The book, This Is That, to learn how to have certain communication, to learn how to think. It's a great book. Salon Cadence builds its leadership model based on that book. And it's amazing conversation starters. It's amazing staff meetings. And of course, Jay is the author of This Is That. So we'll see you guys on Chicago. Hopefully you're going to be there Monday next week. And the registration page is right here. Just go ahead and click and register for the event. And we will change your life.
Thank you, Renee. Bye,
Thanks,
guys.
Jay.
Bye.
See you later. Don't hang up. Hold on.